If you ever decide to exercise an option early, chances are you're probably making a huge mistake and you're throwing money away. Let's talk about it. Hi y'all, my name is Greg and I make videos about the stock market and options trading. Today we're going to be talking about exercising options, why you should almost never do this, then I'll show you a few examples of why you might want to do this, and finally at the end of this video, just in case you need it, I'll show you exactly how to exercise an option. But before we get into it, if you like this sort of video and you want to make more option tutorials like this, make sure to let me know by leaving a like down below and subscribe if you're new to the channel. With that out of the way, let's talk about exercising. Now I know I've got some decent guns on me, but I never exercise. Not options at least. And that's because options are made up in two parts. You have extrinsic value and you have intrinsic value. Extrinsic value is also called time value, and the way this is made up is how much time your option has until it expires and how close your stock price is to your strike price for your option. On a time axis, your extrinsic value will look something like this, where it's a downward exponential until your option reaches $0 of extrinsic value. This is what you call theta decay, the Greek that's responsible for your option losing value as it approaches your expiration date. And you'll notice on this chart, even on the last day, your option still has at least some extrinsic value that's left in it. And this is going to be the case up until 8 p.m. on the expiration date for your option. And the extrinsic value that's left in your option will depend on the strike price and how close the actual stock price is to your strike price. Extrinsic value when it comes to price looks something like this. It's sort of a bell curve where options that are at the money have the most extrinsic value, and as you go further away from the money, either out of the money or in the money, the deeper you go, the less extrinsic value your option will have. This means that options with the most extrinsic value are going to be at the money and with a long dated expiration date. To give you an extreme example of this, we're going to use an at the money AMD leaps. This option has almost a year until it expires, meaning it has plenty of time until expiration, and it's right at the money with the strike price being one below the actual share price. Right now this option is going for $14.75, and if you decided to buy it right now and exercise it, you'd be throwing away $1,372. And this is because your options are made up in two parts, like we said earlier, extrinsic and intrinsic value. Intrinsic value is based on the current share price for the stock and the strike price for your option if it's in the money, and only if it's in the money. If you have an out of the money option, it has zero intrinsic value. But if you have an in the money option, the way you can calculate your intrinsic value is by taking the current share price, subtracting the strike price for your option, and whatever the difference is, that's the amount of intrinsic value that's in your option. And since options are made up of extrinsic and intrinsic value only, this means that extrinsic value makes up that other part. Like we said earlier, this option is going for $14.75. It has $1.03 of intrinsic value. So this means that this option has $1,372 of extrinsic value. And if you decide to exercise early, you're throwing that away. Now this is an extreme example for example's sake, but with most options, if you're exercising early, instead of selling it, you're probably throwing money away. And the best thing to do usually is to sell your option instead and use whatever money you made by selling that option to buy 100 shares of the stock, or sell 100 shares if you have 100 shares already and you're using a put option. But there are a few cases where it actually makes sense to exercise an option before its expiration date. The first case would be due to lack of liquidity. Some stocks are less popular than others, which translates to lower trading volumes, and that lower trading volume is passed down in the options chain. This is especially the case if you decide on a deep in the money leaps option with over a year until expiration. Generally, the farther you are out in expiration and the deeper in the money you are, the less liquidity is going to be available in your trade. This is going to be apparent by the trading volume that your option sees, and also the amount of open interest or the amount of current options that are being held by traders. And sometimes this can get so bad to the point where there's nobody that's willing to buy your option from you. If you ever see a bid of 0, this means that nobody is wanting to buy that option. So if you don't want to get yourself stuck in this situation, then avoid deep in the money and far out expiration dates on low trading volume stocks. I've got a pretty good example of this in my portfolio right now, with this 1250 MAPS leap expiring in January 2022. MAPS is a pretty underground stock with very little trading volume. My expiration date is set for January 2022, the latest expiration date possible on the MAPS option chain right now, and my strike price is a little over $3 in the money. Luckily for me right now, there's bidders that actually want to buy this option from me for $4.70. But sometimes the bid can be so low to the point where it actually makes sense to exercise your option instead of selling it to low bidders. Right now this option is going for $4.80. It has about $3.50 of intrinsic value, leaving $1.30 of extrinsic value in this option. But if for some reason bidders didn't want to buy this option for anything more than the intrinsic value for this option, which is $3.50, say if the bid was $3.20, it would make more sense for me to exercise this option and sell the 100 shares at the market price. I would make more money this way than by selling the option to low bidders. Now this is a really rare case, but it can happen. The second case on why you might want to exercise an option early is just in case you get assigned on the short leg of a spread. I'd say that most of the people who are using spreads don't have the amount of collateral that's needed in order to get assigned on the short leg. That's why they're going with spreads in the first place. But sometimes the person who bought your short option from you can exercise their end of the trade early, which is going to leave you with an assigned short leg where you might need to buy 100 shares or sell 100 shares depending on if you have calls or puts. A good example for this is this Nvidia call debit spread that I opened the other day. If the buyer for my short leg on this option decided to exercise their end of the trade, I would have to sell 100 shares of Nvidia right now at $860. And I don't have 100 shares of Nvidia, nor can I afford it right now. And if this ever happened to me, in order to cover this, I would have to exercise my long option in the spread. This would mean that I'd have to buy 100 shares of Nvidia at $855 with my exercise long option, sell 100 shares of Nvidia at $860 with my assigned short option, and luckily, I don't have to put the money up in order to make this trade happen. Since these options counterbalance themselves, my brokerage is going to do it for me. But remember, only exercise your long option if your short option gets assigned for your spread. And finally, the last case where you might want to exercise an option early is for a sweet dividend payment. If you're long in an option and you want to get that juicy dividend payment, sometimes it can actually make sense to exercise your option early to collect that dividend, and that way you'll make more money. But that's only if the dividend payment exceeds the amount of extrinsic value that's left in your option. This will usually be the case for deep in the money call options, since again, the further in the money you are, the less extrinsic value your option will have, and sometimes that dividend payment can be worth more than the extrinsic value that's left in your option. I don't have a good example of this since I don't usually trade dividend stocks, but if say I was trading AT&T, their dividend payment should be around 50 cents right now, and if this was getting paid out next week, and if somehow I had a $27 call option for AT&T, this option has $1.43 of intrinsic value, meaning that this option only has 10 cents worth of extrinsic value. So in this case, since the dividend payment is 50 cents and the extrinsic value is only 10 cents, we'd make 40 cents more per share by exercising this option instead of selling it to someone else. But you should only do this on or before the ex-dividend date. If you decide to do this on the day that the dividend is actually paid out or later, you're just gonna look like a fool for exercising your option and not getting paid that dividend and losing out on all that money. So to review, there's 3 cases where you might want to exercise an option early. If there's low liquidity on your option, when you've been assigned on the short leg of an option spread, or if the dividend exceeds the amount of extrinsic value that's in your option. And if you ever find yourself in one of these situations, here's how you can exercise an option using Robinhood. Go to your long option, scroll down, click exercise. Robinhood is gonna ask you if you actually wanna do this just as a fail-safe. It's gonna ask you why you wanna do this to make sure you know what you're doing. And from there, you'll either buy or sell 100 shares of your underlying stock. If you're exercising a call option, you're buying 100 shares of your stock at your strike price. And if you're exercising a put option, you're agreeing to sell 100 shares at your strike price. And if there's any extrinsic value that's left in your option, kiss it goodbye. It's going away forever. It's basically like your option expiring. That's pretty much it for exercising options. Hopefully you learned something from this. And if you want to know the next options I'm trading, I post all my trade alerts over on my premium Discord, which you can find in the pinned comment below, and my Patreon. And before I go, I want to say thank you to all my patrons for their support. Thank you for making it all the way to the end of this video. And as always, remember to stay positive, stay green. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye guys.